Live.
Live. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul. And we are joined this week by Team Podcasts Jake. And I can't get my words out. It's been a long day and it's fucking hot. So I'm sweating already. Yes. Just before we start, I want to get something off my chest because I'm very disappointed in the Nerdy Up North community. I am very angry, upset, feel betrayed in a way. Like, how the fuck can you vote Bill and Ted as better in the Goonies? Like, fuck you guys. Fuck you guys up your asses. I hope your next shit is a pineapple. There.
Yeah, I mean, I voted for the Goonies. What could I say?
I've been stewing on that all day, so yes.
Well, I'm going to get my apologies out of the way with. I'm really sorry for the bad quality in camera and potential bad audio. It's only for 2 weeks, and I apologise in advance.
I have no opening rants today.
But just one question, guys. How you doing?
Pissed off. Can't wait till Aliens gets knocked out by Empire Strikes Back next round, bitches.
Oh yeah, you need a new horse in the race, don't you, Paul?
Because Goonies is gone.
Same as Back to the Future. How the fuck in 80s films can you knock out Back to the Future and the Goonies? But anyway. So
in Sonic, that damn Sonic.
I can't even trust you guys anymore. But anyway, yes. I'm good. Not too bad. How are you guys?
Good. I just want to say hi to the chat and hi to Julie, who joined us last week when I met her at a convention. She's like the nicest person ever, and she's in the chat tonight. So hi, Julie.
Hi, chat.
Hi, chat. Hi, Goodwill and his fluffers.
Yes, hi, Goodwill.
But yes, no, it's been not too bad week. I watched Nope last night. The Jordan Peele film. It was utterly bizarre. Some bits I didn't quite understand why they were in the movie, but I did enjoy it. I would recommend it just as an experience.
I love Jordan. Love is a strong word with Jordan Peele because I just did not get what was it, Us?
Yes.
Is it Us?
Yes.
I just didn't. So many questions,
Mm-hmm.
so many plot holes. But I really enjoyed Candyman, and I really enjoyed the other one he did. I can't remember what it was. Get Out. Get Out is masterpiece of a film. It's so good, and I'm really looking forward to Nope. Yes. I've heard it's weird, but in a good way.
I kind of got that vibe from the trailer because it didn't make a whole lot of sense, the trailer. So at least the trailer was accurate, I guess. I'll definitely check it out if I can, though.
It's very creepy, and like I say, there's a bit in it with not a spoilers with a chimpanzee that even now I still don't understand why it's in the movie. It's just there for horrific effect, but it is certainly a decent watch. Also, me and my wife have a new obsession. We can't stop watching. It's a show called Naked and Afraid, which is basically like Survivor and I'm a Celebrity rolled into one, where these people, in Americans mostly, just get dropped off in the middle of like the African desert or like the Amazon, completely butt naked, and they get given basic tools, and they've got to survive either 21, 30 or 60 days in these environments, boiling their own water, making their own shelter, making shoes, and most of them either get like medically tapped out for hypothermia or nearly catching some bug where they shit themselves to life, nearly to death, and it's just hilarious.
Sounds
so like, okay, so how, if you were dropped naked and alone, how quickly would you be able to make an outfit? Have you learned that from the show?
I am. It depends.
What do you go for? Giant leaves?
It depends. If it's Amazon, it's not too bad because there's a lot of like big leaves you can use. But if you're in the desert, you're kind of fucked because it's all prickly shit and small leaves. So you got to go all like alpha male with a bow and arrow and shoot a deer, then skin the deer and use the deer hide.
Cactus suit. I would go for cactus suit.
Cactus hide.
I'd be dead within 24 hours because I have no survival skills whatsoever.
I think I'd just become feral.
did feel sorry for one of the lasses on it because she was Buddhist and she was like, I don't eat meat at all. I'm vegan and stuff. I was like, why the fuck have you went on this show? So this guy killed caught a fish, killed a rabbit, and said, look, you've got to eat. And she refused to eat. Within, I think it was 8-9 days, she'd been tapped out because she passed out from malnutrition.
I'm pretty sure even like the vegan society would tell you to eat a rabbit if you were like about to die.
Yeah, that is utterly bizarre. I have seen things on Gogglebox with it before, but I've never been interested in watching it.
But yes.
Come on.
But
I mean, I've been watching a similar like horrifying survival show, like just catching bits when I'm like in and out the sitting room, you know. Married at First Sight Australia.
Oh my god!
But anyway, no, like the only thing I've watched properly this week is She-Hulk, the episode 3.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. This episode, it was brilliant.
It was funny.
I haven't seen it yet. I think me and Ant are just waiting until I go home.
Yeah,
So we can watch all the stuff because I haven't watched House of Dragon. I haven't watched the new Lord of the Rings.
No, me neither.
I have.
Let them decide.
I know a lot of people's loving it, but I think the best thing I can say, it's very Lord of the Rings.
I'm gonna love it.
That bodes well, yeah.
Well, this is what I was saying. Ant, I was like, Paul's not a fan, and Grant is. Yeah. So like, I'm gonna go with you're gonna hate it. I'm gonna love it.
Well, you gotta go in between their reactions then.
That'll be Ant. You sit in the middle.
I've not posted about it because I don't want to slag the thing off because I don't want to be one of them guys. It wasn't for me, like type thing. But I probably won't watch anymore. I think watched the first episode and it never gripped us, so I couldn't. I don't think I'll go back to it. And I know that's really harsh and like a thing to say, but there's too much stuff to watch at the moment now.
Yeah.
For us to waste time on something I'm not enjoying.
Yeah, I totally get that. I have not been watching any telly this week.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading.
All right.
And I am nearly finished Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And I really, really wish I've never seen the film.
I wish you could delete it from your mind.
I wish I could. So much better.
Because I am so loving this book that I hate the fact that I know what's going to happen at the end. Yeah. I hate the fact that all the little details of like how Barty Crouch can be seen on the Marauders map and that. And I'm like, I fucking know why. I know why he's there. Yes. And it's just so annoying, but I am loving it. I'm nearly finished. Then I'm going to kick straight off with the next one.
You're about to head into the lowest point of the series, the sloggiest slog book, but I'm sure you'll be okay.
There's a lot of filler in the later books, but it's still, like I say, I still love the Harry Potter books. I think they're better than most, I dare to say, fiction books that you do get now, even though you can tell like there was a cash in for a lot of the later books and stuff like that. They wrote just because she was writing them coincide with the movies as well. So it was like saying, this will look good in the movie, this will look good in the movie. So that's the type of effects it was getting in the book. But again, still, I would say read the books over the film at any time.
I'll listen to the audiobooks and pretend that Stephen Fry wrote them and he's reading his own stories. That's what I do.
But Lee is right. The Half-Blood Prince is one of the best books as well. So that's one to look forward to.
Which comes next?
I think it's Order of the Phoenix next. That's the bad one.
Oh, Joe, it can't be any worse than Chamber of Secrets because that was honestly.
He nearly tapped out.
It's so bad. Yeah. But yeah, I've just been reading, and I got my mum's like heavily into Neil Gaiman at the moment, and I found a copy of I don't know if I'm saying this right, Nancy Boy.
The Nancy Boys, yes.
Yeah. I never know if I'm saying it right because it's got an A. Yeah. I'm dyslexic, and I read what I see. But I got it for £1 at a charity shop.
No, it's good. Like I say, it is a good book. It's not one of my favourite gaming, but just with you saying your mum, hello Sam's mum, hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying your holiday. Miss you.
This is why I've got the really shit cameras, because I'm using my Mac at my mum's house, and then just realised that I could have actually brought me your base unit down here. Because I have a monitor, because I'm working from home. So, joy. So, yeah, sorry for the shit camera and the shit quality of...
Stop apologising, man. Like, say, your 70s porn, Sam. That's the new filter.
Yeah, no, Goodwill said I'm glowing, so I'll take glowing.
That's all right.
Glowing like an angel.
He's just kissing your ass. That's all he does. But
exactly. Shall we get into this week's episode? If I do the disclaimer, if I remember it, because I don't actually come with us.
Here we go. The pressure's on now.
So everything discussed in tonight's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you want to come discuss anything from tonight's episode, please come and join us in the Facebook group where we can have an open discussion. What we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom, so let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism. Did everyone like my phone voice too? That's my phone voice.
Very well done. Well, yes. So this one is very close to my heart. I know, like I say, if you've listened to previous episodes, well, the early episodes where me and Sam had early discussions between comics and Marvel movies as well, you'll know that Sam is very much a Marvel fangirl. And like I say, with the tattoo says it all, I am very much DC. So
I think that tattoo means hope, doesn't it?
There's a lot of things that mean hope these days. But yes, I love DC. Like the comics, I love the movies, and I even love the TV shows to a degree. And like say the animated movies, and even going back to the old cartoons, which is like say begun my love of anything to do with like say comics, Cape Crusaders, Supernatural, anything that was like say it got my interest started with DC, and I would love to know like say because I know everyone's like say big comic book fans and stuff. What was the first DC movie that you can remember that you first saw or you kind of you enjoyed?
Yeah, shall I go?
Yeah, go on.
It was for me. It was definitely Batman '89, but I would have seen it when it was like on television. And I vividly remember like us going along to like South Shields, like the seafront, but it being rainy and coming home and like Batman was on the TV like in the mid-afternoon. So I might have had some stuff cut out, but not that would have mattered to me at the time. And I kind of feel like I knew about Batman somehow, but it might just be because he's kind of a bit of a like a legend, like in real life as well as in DC. So I can remember my granddad telling us about like Batman and then being like excited to finally see him because like takes a while for you to fully see him in that movie. But yeah, it was just like the perfect day, like proper Gotham City weather. Yeah.
So you got introduced to the Bats. So there was the Tim Burton's Batman, was it?
Yeah, the Michael Keaton. Yeah, Jack Nicholson. I know you don't like that Joker.
I won't go into the rant. This is going to be a positive one, I promise you today. I'm not going to play it.
No, we're not going to shit all over DC.
I mean, he's not my favorite Joker either, but I think like as a kid he's scary enough. Yeah. I hadn't that would have been my very first Joker to see, I guess.
The only thing that sticks out in my mind that kind of was Joker-esque was when the Joker was killed and you had the little laughing box at the end and that little giggle thing. That was the only thing that jumped out to me was like quite Joker-esque.
Yeah, like getting the last laugh is always like a big thing for him.
Definitely.
But yeah, I definitely didn't think they needed to do the whole like and it was the guy who shot the parents, because I think that set a lot of people to believe that forever. Like, you know, like in DC lore.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's really been used after that.
No, I think like I said, that was the only time it's been referenced that, like I said, because I think it was Jack Napier in that movie, but it was always Joe Chill in the comics. But it had a lot of things going for it. It had one of the best soundtracks. Like I know Prince was involved, so it like the Bat Dance was absolutely fantastic. And Michael Keaton was a brilliant Bruce Wayne, and like even though he couldn't move his neck in the bat suit, which when you look back now is absolutely hilarious.
Might be why he tears the head off in the next movie.
Just so you can get a bit of movement, yes. But no, I've told the story of my first experience with the Batman, being going to pictures with me father to see it and not getting in, so getting denied because I was too young. I think I was 10 at the time, and this was a 12 when it was in the cinema ratings. so I was denied at the cinema. Had to wait 6 months because at the time we didn't have streaming, we didn't have
Lucky up north.
anything where like things would come out straight away. So we had to wait that kind of like length of time for the video rental, and then when I got to see it from the rental side of point, that was like my ultimate disappointment of being like a really big Batman fan, but not to go into the sad moments again, but I can see why a lot of people do like it because aesthetically it is visually one of the like stunning because it's Tim Burton and what Tim Burton does is makes visually stunning movies.
I feel like it was before he went like nuts on the visual style. Like it was still had subtle parts, and then obviously the parade scene is like him just unleashing. But it was like a little and often rather than a whole like an entire movie where everything's twisted and all the doorways are askew.
Definitely. Well, you, Sammy, what was your first?
So mine goes back to Ghostbusters.
Right.
Hey.
It goes back to Ghostbusters. So
was it a DC movie?
Good. I had the Ghostbuster VHS that had both 1 and 2 on it. I got for Christmas when the second one came out to replace the ones that I'd broken. And in the middle of it was an Adam West Batman episode. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But it was right in the middle of it. And because I'd always watched it. I knew that episode back to front. Probably there's no different than what I did the Ghostbuster movies, and that's probably my first introduction into Batman. But movie wise, it's probably Superman. My dad's a fan of Superman too.
Yeah.
And he used to, when he had a chance to watch it on the telly, he used to grab that chance. So Superman, and I'll get into obviously my love of DC comics because I am probably more of a DC comic fan than I like to make out that I am. So yeah, mine was Adam West Batman. Just one singular episode of Adam West Batman.
Did you ever see the actual movie version of Adam West Batman in the 1966 with all the bad guys coming together to take on, and we got the famous bat bomb scene where he's running with the
shark bomb.
It was the bomb that he threw into the sea. Then when he was getting away from the helicopter, and the shark was on his leg, and he's like, "Quick, Robin! Pass the shark repellent spray!" And they sprayed it, and the shark blew up. But the famous meme when he's running around with the bomb in his hands, and he's like going up to nuns. He's like, "I can't throw it here." It's
like a baby in a carriage, and then it's like it's just getting harder to get rid of a bomb these days.
Yeah, I watched the film. I watched the film as an adult, and it was hilarious, like proper belly laughing hilarious. But I could understand like how a child back then would have been mesmerized by it.
It was super colorful, like, wasn't it? Like,
yeah.
It was one of them things where Cesar Romero wasn't it? Not Cesar.
Yeah, he was a Joker, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was.
He didn't take the part seriously at all. He thought it was a joke. Well, being the Joker, they tried to get him to shave his tash off because he was always famous, had a massive tash in real life, and he's like, "I'm not shaving nothing off for this role." So they had to paint it on over, and it's amazing when you look back and you see this like painted tash on his face.
Could you actually see it much though back on like 60s television, or is this like HD remaster like stuff?
This is probably probably not in the 80s because you like had the little like the desktop, like the rounded
14-inch TV.
Everyone was sitting around, but when we start getting like in the biggest screens, like I think went up to 32-inch and stuff, we could actually make things out a little bit more. But it's hilarious to watch back now. It's just like say. But some of the characters in there, like Eartha Kitt as Catwoman, was just absolutely mesmerizing back then. I remember King Tut as one of the bad guys as well, and I can't wait to hopefully to bring out King Tut in versus Robert Pattinson's Batman. That would just be hilarious.
Julie Newmar as Catwoman.
Yes, that was the later one as well after Eartha Kitt.
She was Barbara Gordon, wasn't she?
No, there was a few different versions of Eartha Kitt. Yeah, of Catwoman. There was Eartha Kitt originally, I believe. Julie Newmar was the later one. Because Eartha Kitt was the very much purr, darling, purr. But
I love her voice.
Very old school Hollywood Catwoman.
Absolutely.
Very, very distinguished. But mine was a little bit similar, like to yours, Sam. It wasn't the Batman, but you mentioned the movie that was done by Richard Donner, that scored by John Williams, that when you watched for the first time, especially as a kid, that you believed a man could fly. And Christopher Reeves was just everything epitomed in what you saw in comic book form on screen. And even now, I get goosebumps watching back these movies. And I know some of them hasn't aged well, like Superman 3 and Superman 4 wasn't the best. Like, say, the one with, like, say, Richard Pryor in was anything but having... was it Gene Hackman? Gene Hackman, was it? As Lex Luthor. Was just inspired choice. And again, we've not had a better Lex Luthor since them days. We've had like
only Clancy Brown, but he's a cartoon, but still great.
Certainly. But everything about these movies, like as soon as you hear the soundtrack, as soon as you hear the beats from the music, it takes you back to that time when you first watched these movies, when you saw Lois Lane fall from Niagara Falls and Superman drop down to catch her. And that, like, romance and everything, even though, like, say, romance and superhero films don't really work as well or aren't planned out, but the relationship that Lois Lane and Superman had in these films always felt a little bit more real and felt a bit more touching. And as you said, Superman 2 was just is a stone cold classic of a movie. Like General Zod, like everyone quotes it now still, like kneel before Zod. And I've forgotten the name of the person who was in it now. I'll probably shoot myself in the foot for not remembering.
I can't fact check today. I'm not on my computer.
Sorry, I don't know the actors for the Kryptonian.
It was Terence Stamp, like a famous British actor.
Oh gosh, I've seen him in something recently. Oh, he's a good actor.
But I still go back to these movies and I prefer them to any like thing that's been made modern day these days. Because I know I keep banging on like about practical effects, like how they got, like, say, the realism and look and the movement, like stuff like on the cape, as it was flying, and it was just breathtaking and something I'll always hold quite close to us and stuff. It's almost like quite religious. And again, I know, like, say, I had my little rant earlier, but the connection between one of my favourite films as well always stands out. Like when I'm watching The Goonies, having Chunk like rip open his shirt and have the Superman t-shirt. It's just iconic.
Yeah.
And
he's just like you. He's one of us.
And like when you get older as well and you read stories about like what happened behind the set and stuff, like with how Marlon Brando was supposed to be like the ultimate bell end and just wanting like the amount of money he got paid for like what was in essence like 15 minutes worth of like film was just thing. And how he held like because what was crazy behind the marketing from the original Superman, it wasn't marketed as a Christopher Reeves film or a Superman film. It was marketed as a Marlon Brando movie.
Wow.
That was the thing, because he was the only really big name of the time, except from like Gene Hackman, who was just starting out, like, to sell that movie. Because
they probably wouldn't market the bad guy as much, would they? Like, they wouldn't be like, it's Hackman, it's Lex Luthor, everyone's favorite.
Definitely.
Oh, that's interesting, but I've definitely heard a million stories about the stuff Brando was getting up to in his later years.
Forwarded background as well. Like, I don't know if you've ever probably saved this for the true crime one, but his son's antics. Terrible.
I didn't, but if you can still watch that documentary about the Island of Dr. Moreau thing, that's awesome. But it's not related to DC, but it's a good watch.
No, it's absolutely mental. But yeah, that was probably my first like introduction into DC movies, then moving into Batman and like other stuff. But I don't think, again, not to slate Marvel or say Marvel does anything bad. What they have built over the last, like, say, 10, 12 years is nothing sort of amazing, but none of them films that they've made in that time scale, fair enough, they've created a universe, but they've never encapsulated the feeling of what I felt when I saw Superman for the first time.
Yeah, like I think those movies are like the first couple of Superman ones. They're incredibly like sincere, like in a lot of ways. Like how you said the love story, like it feels pretty natural as far as it can be between an alien and a human. But yeah, like I think they're not like joking about Superman, because I feel like a lot of places now would joke about like Superman, and I mean they did it to Captain America where he comes back to the future and everyone's like cracking jokes about him, just because like they think audiences like won't believe him. But like back then they were like, oh yeah, you'll believe Superman, and I'm gonna treat it like that, you know.
And totally, all you would need to do, like say, as approved with She's All That, like if you put glasses and like say some dodgy clothes on a hot girl, you won't recognize her. So I totally buy the fact that you put glasses and to hide Superman's kiss curl, you wouldn't think he was Superman, even though he's a brick shit house and a massive.
He's such a nerd.
That Clark. Glasses on. Oh my God. I always thought that was bizarre about Superman's, alter ego. Because Clark Kent is the alter ego, isn't he? It's not Superman.
Yeah, Kal-El's like the real person behind the.
Yeah, I always thought it was so odd, the whole glasses thing, because that's going to hide the muscle behind it. Like,
it's weird, like, I guess, like, I saw it so young, I just never, like, I just had, like, I suspended my disbelief, and I was like, yep, that's fine. Like, Superman can have an alter ego, and I don't think about it any further than that.
Movie magic.
I think it's the childhood innocence, though. That's the thing that gets lost on us. I think that's why I try and go back a little bit. Some people call us very childish, but and when I'm watching a movie or like a new TV show, I try and not be too closed off or like looking into stuff. Like, because what we can do now, we can look into movies too much and forget just to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's the sad thing about a lot of movies now, because loads of people come about it and think, we like say like the movie has to like hit certain things, and you see it on the internet so much now, especially like with all. I'm trying to say this in the best possible way, but people are dicks basically. Look at the shit that's coming out about the new Hellraiser movie. I know it's got nothing to do with anything, just because they've cast, like, say, a female Pinhead and the stuff that's come out. But and now they're reacting because they found out that the female is trans. So now they're reacting even worse because of that.
Because it's still technically like Pinhead the Cenobite, technically the same one. And that just boggles the mind, because it's literally like in like a force of nature or demonic, and it's like it can look like anything. It probably looks different to each person who looks at it in the world. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
In the grand scheme of things and how the way the world is right now, is that the debate we really should be having?
It's probably still going to be sick and scary and like gross. Like it'll be everything you want. I'm sure.
This is why I really enjoyed The Black Phone, because of how basic and simple it was. It was just a really easy flow of a story. And you are right. I think we are now expecting the twists and the turns and the spectacular, and we're losing stories.
Yeah. Switch off your story brain, but you can keep like your critical, like, you don't have to enjoy everything, but still, like, try and at least get what the story's getting at.
Exactly.
So leading from that, because like I say, I'm always interested in like people's first like meetings into like say a certain like genre or like a type of movies as well, because a lot of the DC movies, although it goes from a wide variety of different subjects or different things, but it is always like the tonal is normally the same. This is always seen as like the darker type of realm of the comic book world, and I think the movies have always focused. Even though Superman is the shining light, then you go to the realms of like the Batmans, the Watchmen, V for Vendetta, like say Constantine, just like say to name a few. Then it does go to these places where I don't think other comic or movies have tried, and you can always tell or from a feel that it is like kind of like a DC movie as well. I don't know if it's intentional. I know Warner Brothers has a lot to do with it, and we'll not go into the shit show that's going on at the moment with them, but because we don't want to get taken off air. But but I'm interested to know as well, what would you class as your favorite DC movies? And I think we'll all have like quite a different take, because I know from talking to Jake, he likes like almost like the sillier side of like DC, where I know, like, say, I like kind of like the seriousness as well. But I would be interested to know which ones, like, would you class as like your favorite, like, if you were going to comment. And I know I've just waxed lyrical about Superman, but Superman probably wasn't my favorite DC movie.
I'll kick it off with probably the movie that made us look at superheroes in very different light, and it was when I first started seeing Anthony. He showed us Batman Begins, and still to this day, I'm not, the other two in the trilogy are not my cup of tea. But Batman Begins is one of the best Batman origin stories. Like, I just thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. I thought Christian Bale was an amazing Batman. He had both the styles of Bruce Wayne, how I would expect him to be before he becomes millionaire Bruce Wayne, like the one that we know. I thought Batman Begins, like, it opened a door. Yeah. Put it that way. And I really enjoyed it.
It was very much a gateway drug for Sam, but yeah,
it was.
No, like I say, everything was put right, like, because they give us a new villain that they didn't necessarily give us before, like, say, with the Scarecrow, and that element to it led into lots of different things. I do love them movies. I know we've discussed, like, previously with the Batman movies, like, we've had difference of opinions, but it is one of the, I'm not going to say the perfect trilogy, because that is Back to the Future trilogy. That's not going to ever change in my mind. But it is up there. It is.
I'm just going to have to go and let my dog out, because she's just rang the bell. I'll be 2 minutes.
But it's probably up there with one of the best trilogies I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more on the Sam path of things, thinking that the first one is a lot better. The second one's a very different movie. It's good on its own. It's not like it's not my perfect Batman, but it's definitely watchable. It's long though. I didn't like the third one really. And I think it's just because I had a lot of love for Bane as a child.
Yeah,
that wasn't what I was looking for with Bane.
No, it was definitely very much a different take to Bane. But
yeah,
I think the reason I liked it because I was a big fan of the No Man's Land comic.
Right. Yeah, I've read that,
and that film was as close to what we're going to get from a No Man's Land comic ever. Because in like film wise, the plot for No Man's Land makes no sense at all. It's literally out there where, like, say, the government has basically abandoned Gotham, said it's no longer dealing with it because it's become too toxic, and it had an earthquake and stuff like that, where it's so well done, and it's so interesting to see the nuances between characters facing off, and how boroughs were taken over by the cops, boroughs were taken over by certain villains, and villains become bad guys. I mean, heroes become bad guys become heroes. But like I said, that when we got like the Dark Knight Rises, it kind of give me that. So that's why I still hold it with high regard. And I like the little twist thing in it where they give us Robin, but not giving us Robin in the way that we were expecting.
Yeah. I think like the maybe even took like one step too far with that, like with the end bit. They could have just left it even less, I think, and it would have been just as good. But no, you're right. Yeah, because like they did it in a very believable way. Like, how would you cut off Gotham from the rest of the world? And they found a way to do it realistically, which I feel like is always my kind of why I butt heads with like the Christopher Nolan stuff, is because he's trying very hard to keep dragging like Batman down to like the real world, and like other than Superman out of the main series, like Batman's probably like the most fantastical. Like, I know Superman fights aliens a lot in his comics, maybe not so much the movies, but there's just so much like weird science in Batman, and I feel like Nolan was like ignoring that as much as he could.
Yeah. Well, they did call it like afterwards the Nolan verse, though. Afterwards, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How they could think, but I still think in the trilogy of the movies, like everyone goes on saying, because Christian Bale was a decent Batman, but to me, the thing that stood out in their movies wasn't Batman, which is a strange thing to say, was Gary Oldman's Commissioner Gordon.
Oh,
Like his story, his arc, and his journey through their movies. I wanted more of him because, like I say, I know Gary Oldman is an amazing actor to start with, but I think he should have got more plaudits. I know, like say, everyone gives Heath Ledger, like say, he was undeniable as the Joker. Like saying that was basically like a runaway train that like was fraught with tragedy at the end, but his performance was just out there. But I think it kind of overshadowed Gary Oldman a bit because not only did we get an amazing Commissioner Gordon in that movie, in all three, he was consistent and constantly he made you care, and I think that's the main thing. That's hard to do in superhero films, especially when, like, say, they are overpowered and you watch and you think there's no way they're going to think. You need that element where like grabs you by the throat and think this is what I give a shit about, and he was that for me, and I absolutely loved every element and the little tricks and little nods. And the callbacks they did in like Dark Knight Rises as well, and says when Bruce is saying to him, saying, "You give a very scared boy like a coat and hope," and like saying, and it was just like that it wasn't the exact lines. I can't paraphrase.
That was really good though.
And in that moment, like say, even though it's obvious like to anyone outside of Gotham that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and seeing Gary Oldman's Commissioner Gordon realize and kind of getting it was just, it made the movie a little bit more special to us.
Yeah, you do need a good Gordon for a good Batman. I think that's like part of the puzzle.
It's the connection between the two. The Gary Oldman played it perfectly, and the guy who did in the Batman film, the new one with Robert Pattinson, I didn't mind him either. But it didn't have the same kind of the same spark as what Gary Oldman did. What I can't stand in them films is Tom Hardy.
We quickly touched on Bane, but I kind of just said,
I'm sorry.
Well, no. We didn't really talk about the actor. I kind of just said it wasn't what I wanted out of Bane, is because I did like that character as a kid.
I was born in the dark.
Why don't you shoot the man?
Actually, when thinking about it now, like Nolan has a bit of an issue in those movies with like sound mixing and understanding dialogue. It's fine if you've got subtitles.
That's just Tom Hardy talking. Like he's learned. He took the Bane voice with him in a few roles after. It's like Austin Butler at the moment can't drop the Elvis. He couldn't drop the Bane, and you could not understand a word he said in the majority of the films he did. And then all of a sudden, Peaky Blinders, I could hear him. Yeah, crystal clear.
I think with the Bane one, like in Rises, when they had, because the original one you couldn't understand a word he was saying if they just did it, like think they had to do a second reshoot.
Yes, they did, didn't they?
And do his voice overlay. So that's why sometimes his voice looks like really good out there when his eyes are moving and stuff like that, because it's not actually him saying. And they redone like his complete accent as well, because they were meant to be going for like a colonial, like old style British accent. So almost like when you go to like South Africa, hello, Governor, and taking over like all like Dick Van Dyke style.
Yeah.
He's a Cockney. How could you not get that down? He's a fully fledged Cockney who talks like a Cockney geezer. And wow.
But let's not diss it too much, because I didn't diss the Batman 1989 like I could have. So let's just park the brakes a little bit there.
I was just going to say I've totally changed my opinion on Tom Hardy as of late. So I don't want the internet to hate us again like they did.
But Jake, what would you say your favourite DC movie then is?
It's tough because. I mean, it's always going to be Batman. He's my guy. He's always been my favorite character from DC and everything. But I'm torn because Batman Returns was excellent, and I have a lot of nostalgia built up with that from seeing it as a kid. But I was also caught up in the marketing blitz for like the Schumacher Batman movies in the 90s, because I was like, I was the perfect demographic age, and love Jim Carrey, love Tommy Lee Jones as well.
Shame they didn't like each other on set.
That makes it even more hilarious though to watch back. But no, like I genuinely do really like Batman Forever. I think that might just pip it at the post, but like I say, Returns is like immensely nostalgic, like even just the music score. But maybe it's because Danny DeVito's a little too scary. He's too effective.
Didn't the Smashing Pumpkins do one of the songs on this one?
Batman Forever.
Yeah, but
it's got "Kiss from a Rose" on the credits as soon as it finishes.
Because some of the songs, because it had a U2. There was a U2 song. There was the Kiss from a Rose and a Smashing Pumpkins one as well. I'm sure.
Probably it's one of those one. I think you know what? I think Batman '89 kicked that off. I think for some reason they were like, "Oh, let's go back to like the Prince days, and we'll have like this crazy album for a Batman movie," even though Batman would never listen to music. But yeah, like Val Kilmer, I think is a decent Batman, if you know what I mean.
I don't think we've had a bad Batman. That might be a controversy because
actor.
I think George Clooney even played a good Batman in a bad Batman movie. But,
yeah.
I think the only thing I kind of get lost off on with a lot of the Batmans is just to try and force on us like love interests like all the time. It's like,
you mean Dr. Chase Marillion? Everyone's favorite character.
It just feels like the same. But I think coming after Batman Returns, which like I know Charlotte will be banging on it. It is one of the better Batman movies that's ever been made. It went from like dark and grainy to Technicolor because, like I said, and it was all neon and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it was very neon green because of the Riddler being the main guy. But I mean, to be honest with you, that introduced me to Two-Face, I would say, because like the Batman cartoon wasn't super readily available, like to watch, if you know what I mean. Like you had to catch it when you caught it or buy videotapes. And I probably saw like Forever first. So I was like, whoa, like Two-Face is like amazing. Like that's a cool story how he got acid thrown on him. I think it was just like very much like what I was into at the time. Like people, because I mean the 90s was all about mutants. We chatted a bit while we were doing that Turtles stream. But it was like there was always someone being transformed into something, and I think that was just what I was into at the time.
I'm so glad you finished that sentence off, because he did end it at one point saying about acid being thrown on the face, and I was totally into that. And then you drifted off.
Maybe you get your Tommy Lee Jones be all like...
Again, had Drew Barrymore in as well, which a lot of people knew about at the time. That was, like, say, kind of like a hidden.
Oh, what were they called?
Sugar and Spice. Sugar and Spice.
Yeah.
So it's like supposed to be the naughty and nice type of element.
His Two-Face. He had two girlfriends, one for each side.
Because I think that's what's kind of lost in a lot of the hero movies and the villains movies that we get these days. You don't get good goons. You used to get good goons back then. Like people used to dress in like as the bad guys or have the same outfits, just so you know who was the bad and who was the good guys.
Yeah, because didn't all the Two-Face gang have like half and half mask type of things? I mean, they looked a bit like Deathstroke, to be honest. I think now that I'm thinking back, which might have been a quick nod, but yeah, same goes for like the same goes for Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had all of his ice hockey players for his goons. That was, but I mean, come on, like Joel Schumacher was like, he was basically like modernizing the 60s show, like when you think about it.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I don't think people were quite ready for it at the time. Kids were.
I think the problem what he tried to do so much, and he realized after like Batman Returns because I think Batman Returns started the whole double villain type phrase. And then everyone started picking up saying there needs to be two villains, there need to be more than one villain. And he started adding elements that we kind of didn't need. Like he added Robin into that aspect. Then we got Batgirl who was Alicia Silverstone in as Alfred's daughter, who Alfred was mysteriously dying. And
Oh my, Chris O'Donnell is like the worst in those movies.
Oh, he's so bad.
He's probably like the part that's aged the worst, but comes out with like the more ridiculous like lines that you'd remember, like when like at the start of like Batman and Robin, when they're doing the whole serious like the Batmobile coming out of the water and everything, they just go, "I want a car." And he's like, "I can see why Superman walks alone." It's just like, it is like full on jokes like from minute one onwards. Like
I really enjoyed Val Kilmer though. I watched these not long ago to tick off the list. And I couldn't understand how he didn't get to do it in a more serious way.
Wasn't this the one that they give him bat nips or?
No, that was
Clooney. No, I think maybe I think they both had
apologized for them on a talk show. Clooney apologized for the whole Batman film on a talk show, but it was Clooney who got the nips, I think.
It definitely had the butt shots though, you know, like when they were putting the suits on. Well, like, you know what? Like, there was some moms who had to go and take the kids to the cinema that were pretty happy with the choices for those Batman main roles and getting to see the molded rubber, as they say in some of the movies.
I think there were a lot of things as well. This is the age where we start like making, Warner Brothers especially, were making movies just to sell the toys as well. Because like they were trying to make everything so. It was
really crazy for Batman and Robin. It wasn't, as far as I remember, the Forever wasn't as much of an entire like media blitz. But like I remember Batman and Robin, it had like cereal deals and everything, like where you would get like stupid little coins with like tiny little screenshots of the movie on, like foam coins that you would all put in this like. It was like a board that you would put the coins in, so you had to collect them all. I wish I still had it because that would be hilarious.
No, definitely.
They go for a lot of money.
There was probably Tazos as well, I imagine.
Oh, wow.
Pogs, maybe.
I think that was the one that killed the franchise, though, because they bet everything on it, and it just didn't make anything at the box office. And
it got slated by all the big reviewers, didn't it? Like is it like Siskel and Ebert and all that?
Yeah. I think when it came out, like say, it was the most disappointing. But I think for a kid, and that's what a lot of people don't remember, like because there's a lot of gatekeeping when it comes to like superheroes, and especially Batman, because like Batman was my at this age, like especially with like people who read the Frank Miller type issues, they said this is Batman. It should be dark, should be gritty. But if you go back,
that coming out around the same time as well?
I think Frank Miller's one came out around about the original 1989 version. Because I think he spoke to Tim Burton, collaborated around like the look and feel, because it's very much out of a Frank Miller like comic, like say the aesthetics of it. But because like I say, that's what people were saying they grew up with, and that's what I think. But if you go back further in the Batman comics in the 60s, it was like a joke. Like say that like there was no violence. It was very camp, and that it was only till later on that's what we got.
I think like a lot of the famous like classic silly Batman iconography comes from those comics, because they have sort of remade that in like, it's called Batman Brave and the Bold, like a cartoon, where it is the more silly, like, you know, 60s style run around and chase the music maestro, and he's playing instruments to control people. But I think like all the stuff, like, you know, like the giant coin and the T-Rex in the Batcave, that's quite famous, like, you know, background stuff. I think that comes from like the 60s era, where it's like, you know, the Two-Face's giant coin he has for some kind of weird trap scheme.
I never questioned the T-Rex in the Batcave. I've never questioned.
I don't know exactly where it's from, but yeah.
I see it like in every what did I read not long ago? I
think it was in Hush. It was Hush. Yeah, Hush. Had the Batcave, had the giant coin, the T-Rex, and everything in. Like,
there's a panel in there, and I'm like, I'm not questioning this. This is just normal.
It's unsafe to leave that just lying around. He's going to take it back to the cave.
But the only thing that kind of like not disappoints me about Batman, but kind of I feel like we're not getting all we should be when it comes to Batman, because when it comes to like say different like villains and a lot of different like because a lot of, other than Spider-Man, I'll be honest, everyone has one or two major villains and that you can name. Like when they go to the Rogue Gallery, there's not many people like in the comic book world that you can go through Batman and you can list off about 20 of his Rogue Gallery easy, and they keep repeating the same ones. That's the only thing, because I know the Joker's always going to be the mainstay. I know we've got a new version of the Riddler in the new Robert Pattinson, which was done absolutely amazingly, like the way they did it. But there's so many different ones that we could have, and we're not touching on. Like, fair enough, Catwoman always has to go in because there's always got to be that element. Penguin, background character at best, because like, so even in the comics, he was never really like a big villain. He was just more of annoyance to the things. But like, because
he's like public facing, isn't he? He's not exactly hiding like the rest of them.
Exactly.
But like, say there's so many. There's like, as I said, there's like Clayface. I would love to see a Clayface, Killer Croc, Mad Hatter. Like, imagine seeing Jarvis Tech and his like world in a movie.
A modernized version of him. I mean, they kind of did that incel kind of thing with the Riddler, but Teacher's another one. But no, you're right. I think it's because like we keep getting put back to square one, because I think there's like a weird thing, I guess, in Hollywood where people are like, the Batman movie has to make the most money out of any movie that year, otherwise it's a failure. And it's like, well,
but yeah,
please just like keep a series going for a bit so we don't have to do the Joker again.
Well, I think that's why I was a bit more excited to see, like, I know, like I say, I keep trying not to bring it up, but the Batgirl movie that's just been canned because we were going to see Firefly, Brendan Fraser as Firefly, and that would have been really interesting to see that element. And I know Michael Keaton was going to return as like an older Batman, almost like possibly like a Dark Knight Returns version, like watching over these young people that's looking after the city now. But seeing Firefly, like say, has just been manic, because like, if you play like the Arkham games, the Firefly levels are so infuriating and annoying. It's literally just a man with like say with a flamethrower like flying around with a jetpack just burning shit up. And I think
like street level, that's like that's tough to beat for like Batman, because it's like, you know, but yeah, you're right, like we need like some more villains, because there's loads of fun ones I could pick from, and it's always an interesting puzzle like for Batman to solve to take them out, rather than it just be like a crime boss again.
I am getting a bit fatigued with the crime boss story that they keep throwing down our throats when it comes to Batman.
I never heard Falcone said so many times since like 2005 when the Nolan movie started.
I keep thinking he's a real person. When you're playing the video games of Batman, is it the Rockstar? Is it Rockstar?
Yeah,
Rocksteady, but yeah,
Rocksteady. They are some of my favorite games in the world. I think when I got into gaming, Grand Theft Auto and one of the Batmans was the first things I played completely myself, and like felt there's such a sense of achievement. And I think the games are fantastic, and they bring out so many different characters that you're like, why can't we just like get you on the big screen? Come on.
Yeah, we're basically
Warner Brothers.
We need like some kind of long Halloween where everyone breaks out of Arkham. And then you can have your 2-minute scene where he goes and finds Calendar Man. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be an entire movie for all these like weirdos.
No, it doesn't.
But
that would be tough to do on screen, though, I think. And
but that's why I enjoyed kind of like the Suicide Squad in a way, because even like with the new one with James Gunn, you went around, you saw different like villains and stuff, like give them like little cameos. I'm sure Calendar Man was in that because it was his brother. Was it Sean Gunn or something that was playing him?
Sean Gunn, yeah.
Yeah.
Sean played Weasel and...
Weasel. I love that thing.
And what was it, the Lego Batman, which I think is hilarious.
They're great as well, yeah.
So funny. It's Will Arnett who does his voice. I think he's got such an amazing voice. But they do this whole laundry list of all the DC villains, and I have never laughed so loud in the cinema, especially, and I still quote it today where they're like, I'm a whale. So ridiculous thing, but it just replays in my brain all the time.
Definitely. But I'm going to be a bit controversial because, as I said, I'm a big DC fan. And I'd say I love the comics. I love all the comics as well. And getting this version, I know people probably say it isn't the best version that we've had, but to get this version on the big screen and how it worked, and I think it was beautifully shot and beautifully acted. And even though like they changed massively from the comics, but my favourite's probably is Constantine, and it's probably not a lot of people's favourites. And Sam's probably going to say she's never seen it.
I won't watch it. Hellblazer is one of my favourite comics in the world. Like, I absolutely adore that book so much that when I realised who was playing him, I was like, I just can't bring myself. I own it. I just can't bring myself to watch it.
I could probably do with a rewatch because I think I only saw it like once when it probably came out on rental or something.
Nope.
But a lot of people give it shit because of, as I said, the big changes that they made. But taking them changes away, like fair enough, it's Keanu Reeves. It's not some Liverpoolian scouser. But it is a Constantine movie. It is like almost like it's from a Hellblazer comic. The way it's shot, the way, like say, they use the characters as well, and how Keanu plays the character. He has the attitude of Constantine, where he just doesn't give a fuck. It's all about himself, and he brings that in. And Raquel Weisz is absolutely stunning, like the most beautiful woman in movies, and she's absolutely beautiful in this movie. And even Shia LaBeouf isn't annoying, which is surprising when it comes to a lot of things. And having Papa Midnight in it as well, and having Peter Stormer being one of the best.
Oh, I love Peter Stormer.
Portrayals of Lucifer in any type of show, movie going. And having, like say, Tilda Swinton in it as Gabriel as well, and her little banter with Keanu Reeves. And I think we talked about it during the Sandman podcast as well, where when you get the visuals or how they portray hell, it's always like in movies done shit, to be honest, or on TV shows. It's always like a glimpse. It's always like someone's worst nightmare. Where when Constantine goes into hell, like when he does the whole like seance and he goes to try and locate like say a dead sister, and they use a cat, and they use a cat, and the cat doesn't die, so you're okay to watch it, Sam. But the portrait of hell is so hellish and horrible and dystopia, and just it just you get the feeling that you don't want to be there. It makes you itchy when you look at it. I just thought it was really well done, and seeing, because with Constantine being such a brutal and hard transition form to do, because we got the TV show, which I enjoyed, but it was very Constantine light. Let's be honest.
It was, and the show was doomed before it even aired, before it probably was even written. Not CW. I can't remember who had it. Didn't want it at all. They didn't want the show. They cut it down massively. They cut the episodes down, and they mixed them up. They did a Firefly on the show. They absolutely screwed it from start to finish. But Matt Ryan as Constantine was everything I wanted and more. And I worked for Nerdfeed at the time, and I was on this massive like Constantine campaign to get him back and to take him to the CW. It kind of went that way, but it was something completely different. He just went and joined another show. Done loads of cameos. Then he brought him into, like, say, what was it, Legends of Tomorrow, which was just batshit crazy. But yeah,
it was absolutely nuts, that show.
It was too much for me to watch that. But he also did he did voice work for the DC animated movies. I was just so glad that he got to finish John. If that's how it was going to be finished, he did it on a high as opposed to the shit show that he got from that show. But after watching Sandman, I actually think I could go in and watch the Keanu Reeves one.
It's a good film. Like, everyone kind of slates it because
people are absolutely slating it in the chat, by the way.
I'll definitely give it a rewatch because I don't remember enough to have a feeling.
I was going to say most people. I think there's only one person that's slating it, and I don't agree with his opinion on anything anyway, so it's fine. But with Constantine, it was very much one where when it came out, the internet hated it before it was released.
Yeah.
So when they watched it, there's great visual effects, like before its time, like the whole bringing the demon out of the little girl at the start is fucking amazing. And for a comic book, it was right out of something you would see out of The Exorcist. Literally, it was that good. It built tension. It used, like, say, the colors. It had strokes of like Blade at times, like, say, especially when they're going through like nightclub scene and Constantine's like walking through, and like I know in the comics Papa Midnight is like one of these characters that's either good or bad. He just kind of like he's like neither or. He's always like trying to, and he explains it by he's trying to keep the balance in this. The only thing that again that kind of lets it down, and it's just a minor thing, is how Camp Gavin Rosendale is in it as Balthazar. He does a thing that it does a scene where it doesn't work, where he licks his finger and goes finger licking good, and it's just like, oh, that's just that doesn't kind of work type thing. But I still think as a movie, it's the closest we'll get probably in the next 10 years to a Constantine like movie. They might revisit it. I know they're talking about doing Justice League Dark with what's he called? Who fucked up Star Wars?
Yeah. Oh, which one? Ryan Johnson?
Ryan Johnson.
No. The guy who Bad Robots. He did Cloverfield.
I don't know, but yeah, but a bad robot getting it, is that what you're saying?
Well, I thought you were talking about Ryan Johnson. I was like, he did a really good Knives Out.
No, that was the right, but he like say he come up with a story like of like say the three films and give it to other people to try and make films from, but then had to try to come back for the last one to fix it, and it just didn't do a good job. But J.J.
Abrams.
Aye.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, but you never know. With everything that's going on at the moment at Warner Brothers, that'll probably get pied off now.
I would love to see John like have a show like what The Watchmen got.
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. I would love that. I just think he's so interesting, especially all the occult stuff and
no, definitely right. He is like say if anyone's like want to start out reading like say DC comics, go to Hellblazer. Hellblazer is fucking one up there. Like say then move to the Sandman, because like say they do interlink at times, and that was always the thing that kind of like I know we talked about it during the Sandman episode. I still don't understand, and even after watching it again, I loved it and I loved the character portrayal. But I still don't know why it wasn't John.
Yeah,
because in the comics it was John.
After now I know because I didn't realize that Joanna was a ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
So and Dan was like, oh yeah, it was meant to be John. I was like, well, why wouldn't you have John? Like, what's wrong with John?
Yeah.
You can be class.
Too much baggage, honestly, possibly. I mean, I didn't know that the character had this much baggage until we talked about it on the Sandman. But yeah, when
mention them,
like when that came out, I kind of just the Keanu one. I just took it for what it was. I think I was like, "Oh, cool, a sort of dark superhero movie." But I honestly can't remember too much about it. But I'd give it a rewatch now that I know.
I'll actually give it a watch after watching Sandman. I would like to see. Just see. I just want to see what it's like because it's been a very long time since I've read Hellblazer.
And also, like Keanu's been on like an upward trajectory like lately, so maybe our opinions of Keanu as an actor are more favorable.
He has actually said he wouldn't. He actually has come out and said he wouldn't mind doing Constantine too. Now he's like getting love from the John Wick films and stuff like that, and he's got more pull. So he probably said he would like to like say pick up the old cigarette case back a little later.
It's magic, man. Just have both Constantine's and Joanna. Like, who cares?
Cool.
No, it's just magic spell. Goes wrong, splits them into 3, and then everyone's happy.
But yeah, what was I going to say? It wasn't about Constantine. It was about Watchmen. I just thought it was a nice segue.
Yeah.
Segue.
So,
Queen of the segue.
I know I did a little bit like this before, but I always want to read this out because it's one of my favorite quotes and like lines in the comic book and in the movie. Dog carcasses in the alley this morning. Tie a tread on a burst stomach. The city is afraid of me. I have seen its true face. The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood. And when the drains fully scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of their sex and murder will form up and around their waists, and all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us!" And I'll whisper, "No."
Is that how you feel after the Goonies about the group?
The group is dead to me.
That's a hive of scum and villainy.
That end line where he says, they'll shout up and shout, "Save me," and I whisper,
"No."
I love that line.
And that was the opening as well in this, like in the story, and it showed where this actually story was going. And I know, like, again, I think with a lot of DC films, it's very mixed with the opinion. It's either very Marmite, shall we say? It's either someone loves it or someone absolutely hates it. I loved Watchmen. I've got the 10-hour cut.
Really? I've never done that one.
I don't think it's 10. I think it's about 6 hours, the ultimate cut, where it's got the
hours.
It's got the.
This is Zack Snyder as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got all the missing stuff, and it's got all the Black Sail stuff all into it, because there was a Black Sail DVD brought out afterwards that you could watch the cartoon, but it's intercut through the film, so it's very much like the comic, except from missing giant squid. But you still get
which I thought was fine, incidentally.
That's too much to explain.
Yeah.
Like in the time, but it is a Zack Snyder film. Mm-hmm. It's of course going to be absolutely beautiful to look at because he is such an amazing cinematographer. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he just needs to do. Just go and make beautiful films, but just don't put
keep out like the writing process.
Keep away from the writing, keep away from the direction, but just make it look, because he made Watchmen look beautiful. There's no other way to describe how gorgeous that film is.
Can I just ask, did you guys like read the comic beforehand? Because I did, but like just before, because I had heard the movie was coming out and everyone was saying it's based on this like really good like graphic novel. So I did pick it up from like HMV or something, but probably only like weeks before the actual movie came out.
I've owned it many forms. I had the original comics for a while and sold them not too long ago, actually. But like I said, this was my comic I went to read like when I was bored. It was everything. That was like it was dark, it was brooding. You cheered for people, you felt sorry for people, you hated ones. Like it gave you literally every emotion, and like just the story behind it was just it spoke to us, and not many comics will do that, and it's up there with I would say not just comics but some of the best works of writing that's came out in the last, I would say, 50 years.
It definitely reminds me of like the kind of stuff Dark Horse got into as well. In the sort of probably a bit later 2000s and stuff, like like your Invincibles and stuff like that, and Walking Dead to a certain extent, where it was like a proper like page turner, like an adult story done in like comics. But it's interesting, like that you like the Rorschach, like speeches wise, is like it is like undeniably cool, especially like the first time you read it and stuff. It's a bit like it's very like nihilistic though, and I don't know how well it plays like these days. Like if someone just picked it up today, I'm not sure how they would feel about Rorschach, because he's kind of like gross when you break down some of the stuff.
Yeah, I think when they did like I said, the recent Doomsday Clock, was it? Where it was an interlink between DC and Watchmen, where, like I said, Dr. Manhattan had meddled with the timeline or something, so something went wrong. So he brought like the new Rorschach and a few others to DC, and you saw like Rorschach pounding on the Joker, like almost killing the Joker and stuff.
I would like to see that actually.
But no, it's a very good comic. It's Doomsday Clock, I'm sure it's called, where you get Superman versus Dr. Manhattan.
Oh dear.
This doesn't end well for the boy in blue.
They're kind of like two sides of like the same coin as far as like omnipotence goes, where like Clark's somehow like against all odds can still see see the value in humanity, whereas Dr. Manhattan's just like gone off the total deep end. He's technically good, but in a very like cold, like absolutely cold way.
Yeah.
But that's a good link. That scene, the Dr. Manhattan backstory scene, plays out perfectly on screen. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's just the comic come to life. And like the music they use just adds to it. But I love how they even slip in all that like incidental stuff where it's just like, like April 13th, the human nervous system walks down the hallway, like all that weird stuff. But it's awesome because it's like him trying to build himself slowly, and everyone thinks it's like ghosts in the lab and stuff.
But I think that's what Zack Snyder, as Sam pointed out earlier, does perfectly. Visually, he can make a comic book scene come to life. And we found that out like with films like Sucker Punch as well, which was a terrible movie.
Terrible film, but
looks absolutely stunning. Still don't know what
the fight. No, me neither. Sorry, but I was just gonna say the fight scenes in The Watchmen are like incredibly watchable, if that makes sense. Like you can tell what's happening. It's got plenty of his slow mo, but to be honest, in superhero stuff, like slow mo is fun because it's normally something crazy happening. So like even just that start where he gets like thrown out the window and like smashed around the apartment, like the comedian, like that just looks amazing.
What casting though for the comedian? Like literally, Jeffrey G. Morgan was made for that role because he looks exactly how he is in the comic. It is so spooky. It's brilliant casting.
But I think all the casting in the movie was done so well. Like Jekyll Harley as Rorschach, I thought was inspired choice, even though like I say he didn't do the best Freddy Krueger like impressions later on. But,
is that him who played Freddy later?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh right, yeah. He looked like a cat.
But he looked exactly like Rorschach, which was a big reveal in the comic, wasn't it? When you saw him, and it was like he just looked like this weird little like wiry guy.
It wasn't not the hard nut that you were expecting. Not what I was expecting anyway.
And you got like Patrick Wilson as Night Owl as well. Night Owl 2, sorry. And like say like the whole different things. And what I liked about because we had the cinema release, then what we got the director's cut. Because there was always a scene in the comic that was really brutal. It was the death of the original Night Owl. That when he was older and he was killed, that was cut out of the original cut. But in the director's cut, it was brought back in, and it was so well done. And as I said, the fight scenes and everything, it was so brutal. But like as you said, this was not a comic book movie for kids at all. Like the scene in the bar when Dr. Manhattan blows everyone up, and you see the bones, watches, and tendons hanging off the ceiling and dripping everything everywhere. But what mesmerized me about the movie as well, and it's literally probably about 2 minutes, that opening, that when you hear Bob Dylan, "Times Are a Changing," and you go through the years and all the changes, and it's literally reading the comic book and scene by scene, and it's showing what happened to the original Minutemen throughout time, and like how they went crazy, how like they were like lesbians, and there was hate crimes towards them. There was a lot of topics.
Got his cape caught in the rotating doors.
Yes. No capes. But yeah.
But it definitely has some cheesy moments because that sex scene, Hallelujah, is is really stupid when you watch it back.
You see when
Sexy though, it's shot good,
Yeah.
like Sam was saying.
It can't be any worse than the sex scene in Showgirl. So
it's up there. Less violent, but less exploding fire from owls, shall we say?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Accidentally leans on his flamethrower button.
I generally didn't get mad at this film. I thought I really enjoyed it, but the TV series was just it's perfection.
It was really
It was
cool.
brilliant.
But Alan Moore
I don't know
still
where
won't
it
watch
came from.
Alan Moore still won't watch it.
Really?
No, Alan Moore won't watch anything to do with his work. Anything.
Big grouch.
I love him so much. He's brought me some of the best stories I've ever read in my life. And I generally find him an interesting person. His talks that he does are amazing. But my God, is he a grump?
Yes.
Like,
he's a warlock. Let him do what he wants.
I mean, I've been on record before, like saying I'm fine for like creators to be angry and hate the fans. We need a few dotted around. Not everyone can just be shines and sunshine for all the fans.
I kind of get where he's coming from though, because that's his work that he put onto paper, and someone is then saying, all right, well, I can do a better job of that and make that visually look better. I kind of get where he comes from on it, but at the same time, I love the fact
don't sell your shit then.
No, you're right. I kind of see a little bit of where he's coming. I'm a huge Alan Moore fan. I try to defend him as much as I possibly can. I love the man.
Was he League of Extraordinary Gentlemen as well?
We're not talking about that one. We'll just move
on.
I know.
No. I saw that in the cinema more times than what I probably should have.
Wow.
It's the movie that killed off Sean Connery's career, but yes.
Arguably a good thing.
But yes, you were going to ask a very interesting question there, Jake. Sorry, we interrupted you. Said where that came from. When you interview the director of The Watchmen, like the writer and stuff, he didn't want to do anything to do with Watchmen. All he wanted to do was the start. The big, like the clan fights. I've forgotten the town, Tulsa. Sorry, the Tulsa riots.
Yes.
All he wanted to do was tell that story because it was a true story and not many people knew about it. And it's like one of the blights on American history that they keep trying to cover up. And he said, "Fair enough, I'll make a Watchmen movie if I can add this bit in, if I can do this." And they said yes, and that is the only reason. And everything that came from that was basically because he didn't want to just remake Watchmen the movie. He wanted to like go on afterwards and do like his but in theory he couldn't give a fuck about what he told. He just wanted to tell the story about the Tulsa riots, which I thought was amazing.
That was the part that I liked the most, so it makes sense that all the passion was in that part. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, it was we went on Anth when we were watching it. Anth was like, went and, as he normally does, jumps on his phone and he was like, it's actually a true story, like this actually happened.
So it's not an easy watch if anyone is thinking about checking out. Not an easy watch at all, but like we're saying, important because it's a true story.
Majorly important. So many parallels between now and then, and crazy, but the whole series as a whole was unreal. Regina King was amazing. Like, I'm speechless when it comes to how brilliant that woman was in that film, in that series. So good. Definitely.
If anyone's ever going to watch it, like, say, you don't even have to have watched Watchmen to understand it. It has little elements and little fun bits. If you're a Watchmen fan, you'll get all the in jokes, but there's more to it than that, if that makes sense.
Is it technically a sequel to like the comic book?
Yes, very much so.
Because of the squid thing.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so.
I wonder if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about when we keep saying the squid thing.
I'm not going to tell them. They've got to find out for themselves.
Go and watch it.
Yeah.
Go and watch it, because honestly, it was one of the best series I saw. It was in lockdown, wasn't it? One of the first lockdowns, and it was one of the best series I watched. It was phenomenal, breathtaking.
Moving on to another Alan Moore DC film that does get a lot of hate, but I still like it. It's got a few dodgy accents in, but V for Vendetta is up there with one of the more interesting takes and very comic book accurate as well. Which a lot of people say, oh, they move too far away from the comics and stuff. But again, this was very much shot scene from scene out of the comics and straight onto the movie. And again, similar to Watchmen, was a comic book I enjoyed and loved as a kid. I've revisited this, and normally it's around about a certain time of the year. The 5th of November is a must.
Getting there.
Any Guy Fawkes fans out there, but visually, again, if you take away Natalie Portman's very strange accent, very Nick Van Dyke.
She tried. She tried. I think.
I blame George Lucas for that. I think he broke out accents by making her be Padme.
Yeah.
That one's the one where I've never checked out the comic, so you'd recommend it, Paul?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I read the comic before I watched the film, and I was put in such a mindset before I even got onto the first panel because of the description Alan Moore writes of where he is in the time space of when he wrote it and what was going on in Britain at the time. So you've already got his mindset set before you even go into it, and it really, if you read what he says, it's haunting that could have, it was only in 1983 1984 what was actually going on in Britain at the time, and then it goes into it drives the story, it drives what you're reading, knowing where he was and what was happening. It's beautiful book and beautifully written.
It's set in London, but it's very much in northern tone. That's the best way I say it, because we, hated the government at that time. Thatcherism was very much at its height, and I spit when I say her name. But it's very much in the tone fuck this government and what they are doing to us and where they're going. It was very much in the same eyes of 1982, 1984 was it?
Was it 83?
No. What was the George Orwell 1980?
That's four.
Right, sorry.
1984. It's very much in the same tone and heartbeat of that type of novel there. But it's one of them ones I've actually met the illustrator, David Lloyd, and I've not in this room. I should have it, but I've got it under my bed. I think I've got a signed picture and a signed copy of V for Vendetta, where David Lloyd's used crayon to draw V. So I've got it says 2 Paul, so I can't sell it, unfortunately.
Well, you can lend me that one and I'll read it.
See if I can find it for you.
Honestly, though, it became the movie. It made the imagery iconic for sure. Because to be honest with you, yesterday I was just driving down the street and I saw some guy in a V for Vendetta t-shirt with the mask on, and I was like, I had a second look because he was just waiting at a bus stop. I was like, oh, cool.
It's still relevant today. It was what?
Kind of, yeah. Iconic.
Very much relevant today. It's where everything that's going on with
I think it's the perfect time actually to read that. So I think I'm going to get on Amazon.
Remember the 5th of November.
No, I shouldn't go on Amazon. I should go to my local comic shop. I shouldn't have said that.
Comic book shop, Jake. We're going out on the 23rd. We'll go and find it.
Yeah.
Don't tell people they'll come and stalk you.
Tell them where we're going.
Local. The local people.
That's what my village says when you come into it. Local people.
We'll have no shouting
local
here.
Traffic.
Well, our noses up tubs. It was a little brown fish.
Reece Shearsmith could be a good DC bad guy.
He's going to be. I'm sure he's in a new film. It's a murder mystery. The cast looks awesome. But,
yes, I think I saw the trailer for that. Yeah. I can't remember what.
I forgot what it's called, but I shared it yesterday. But the cast look amazing. But yes, coming back on subject DC. So, what do you think of modern DC? Because we've had a lot where they've tried to emulate a certain franchise, but hasn't quite worked as well. But when they've done off the beaten track, I think they've blown the competition out the water, in my opinion.
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't mind the DC as it is now, apart from Wonder Woman. 1984. That was fucking terrible. But I didn't mind Aquaman. I generally didn't. I thought the only thing that bothered us about that was the score didn't go with the movie at all. Justice League, both versions, I didn't mind. Batman versus Superman, I could pick a lot of parts out of it that were terrible, and I think Zack Snyder just basically got 2 comic books and went, that'll do. But I didn't mind it visually. I like Affleck as Batman. Like, I thoroughly enjoy Ben Affleck as Batman, and I don't want to see him go just yet.
So if the rumours are true, after Flashpoint, we're getting more Affleck. If we ever see Flashpoint,
honestly, fucking start again. Just do us all a favour and
no, not back to square one again on DC. That's the problem we were just talking about.
I don't want to see the Waynes murdered again. Can't we just pass that point?
You know how they did it with Spider-Man, and he was just about to get into his whole arc, and like Iron Man was getting okay. Let's just have one of them moments where they're like, oh, it's okay.
But we'll have. If you think about it, the Robert Pattinson Batman.
I know there was no shot of pearls flying around in slow motion.
Didn't he just say that's another story for another time or something, or like that's been over? Like, they made reference to the fact that they don't need to do that story again.
But I think you talked about earlier when we were talking about the Commissioner Gordon being done well. I think this Batman, I absolutely I know a lot of people either love or hate it, but I was one of the ones that absolutely adored it. I loved the Patterson version. It was different. It was very emo. It was very young, but it felt comic booky. But it felt also and that Batmobile is one of the best Batmobile sounds I have heard in a long time, and it it got me excited for what's happening, and using characters well, not having Penguin as a main bad guy, just as a little side quest was interesting. Giving us Selena Kyle that I rooted for and thought she has so much interesting backstory and wanting to learn more. Having Batman learn it's not about revenge, it's not about fear, it's about hope. And I know, as I said earlier, when Jake made the joke about the symbol on my arm being about hope, that's the lead up to what Batman has always wanted to be, a symbol of hope, not a symbol of fear. And
he always strives to be the Superman of the world, but he's kind of set himself up for the darkness. He kind of sets himself up for failure before he even gives himself a chance. He's always been like that, but he always looks to Superman as to that's how I want to be. That's what I'm aiming for. But that's how I always read him anyway.
Yeah, but I'm glad they're not there was no reference to Superman or any bigger picture. It was more intimate. But the whole beginning of it as well, where when all film noir and the voiceover and seeing in the shadows and seeing the villains being scared of the shadows, and then he creeps out and you see him tackle that gun, and the way he was, and he's like, I'm vengeance, was just, I know that was the whole joke through the film, but I again got excited about Batman, and like I say, it's been a while since I've been excited about what we got, and I'm interested to see where we go, as long as we said, keeping it different, keeping it interesting. I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too. I enjoyed that movie more than I thought I was going to, and I had no issue with Robert Pattinson. I was just, and it was the same reaction I had when they announced Affleck was going to be playing him. I was like, just see what he can do. Affleck's played superheroes before. He only did Daredevil because he never thought in a million years he would get Batman, and he's a huge Frank Miller fan. He's also played Superman before as well.
Yep, he was. He played George. What's he called?
What's his name? George Reeves. We just keep talking about him.
I mean, I don't mind Batfleck, I guess.
I remember
but he's fine. He's he's a divorced dad Batman. He would work fine for the angry, older Batman. And I really like the new stuff because it felt like it was respectful of the character. I really don't like Batman v Superman's Batman one bit and the Justice League, I think, because it just feels like they're doing that thing where it's like, wouldn't it be cool if Batman had a gun or if he like killed a guy? And it's like, no, that's what that's the thing Batman doesn't do. You've got plenty of other characters to mess around with like darkness with.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing what you were saying before about like the symbol of hope stuff. It's like, yeah, like he sometimes has to like cut some corners. He can't be like Superman where he's like invincible. Sometimes he has to like throw a guy out of a window in case he kills him. But at the end of the day, he's supposed to be the best of us, like the best human, like the shining example, like the one who will step up and save the human race type of thing for us. And like the Zack Snyder, it just felt mean-spirited to me. Like I nearly walked out the cinema in Batman vs Superman after like Batman was shooting cars with like guns attached to the Batmobile. And I know you could say it's like, oh, he's just flipping cars over, but I was just like, no. Like they did it in the cartoons where like, you know, Batman Beyond, which incidentally would make a really good movie series. But that's the thing where he stops being Batman because he has a heart attack while he's like taking out goons, and he picks up a gun to save his own life, and he doesn't use it because he drops it when he realizes what he's done, and then that's it. He just quits being Batman. Yeah. So like I feel you need that part of the character, like where he just wouldn't.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think Batman could work as a TV series?
Yes.
I think people are just scared to make it, but I think a villain of the week, it's like it writes itself.
The 66 version showed it would work.
No, that's not what I meant. Like, as in nowadays, do you think it would work as a TV? Just because of what we've had prior.
I think like it gets held up as like it needs to be a prestige thing, and I don't think that's true. Like I think Batman could be told by like any number of like storytellers and in different budgets and whatever. It could be an unknown person. Like it doesn't actually matter that much. But yeah, I'd love it.
Unfortunately, Marvel's proven it can be done with Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Because that was basically Marvel's.
I just thought with how precious the character actually is, and thanks Coco, and the movie adaptations that we had of him. Could you go from what you've just seen with Patterson and then put him into
I think what it comes down to, what unfortunately does come with like most like things when it comes to Warner Brothers, it's money. Batman still is a money franchise and will make money wherever you put it or whatever like situation you put them in. And if you put Batman in on the big screen, you're going to make more money than you would if you put it on the small screen. So that's why it is always been treated as that type of situation. I know at times they do the same with Superman, but Superman is a lot harder to sell. So that's why when you bring it to the human level, it works better. Like with Smallville, I think the aspects that they got right in Gotham, like the TV show, they failed without having Batman in that. I know you did get him in the end, but simply because you had Batman villains coming into it, and Commissioner Gordon was defeating them without Batman. So it was like, do you really need Batman if the police force are doing as well? So that's was always my.
It wasn't what I expected, because there's that Gotham Knights comic book, which is more about like how the Gotham PD works around Batman. And you don't really see him directly, but you see like some aftermath where it's like, oh, Batman took out like 20 thugs here, and now the police have to come in, and how that sort of situation works it out for them. But yeah, Gotham was interesting. I didn't finish watching it.
I totally forgot about that.
And it had like 6 different Jokers in it because they were trying to tease that for a very long time or something like that.
I think I watched one episode and went, no.
That's actually an interesting thing, because, you know, before we were saying like Batman's like fittingly plagued by the curse of the Joker. Like in the films, we always have to have a Joker. Kind of like in his real life character or real comic character, where he's always followed by the Joker everywhere. But Bruce even followed the Joker to his, like the Joaquin Phoenix movie, because like they had to shoehorn in that scene near the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
and make him think he was like a Wayne, like an adopted Wayne child.
Now that's the perfect segue as well. So what did you think of the Joker movie?
I don't mind it.
I kind of thought it was just like dark for dark's sake, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see a lot of heart in it from any character. It was interesting. It was an interesting watch, but I don't think I'll ever watch it again.
No, I don't think I'd ever watch it again. The last 10 minutes of it where you see I didn't see it as a Joker film, if that makes sense. Like I didn't feel like I was watching origin of the Joker. The last 10 minutes of it where he unravels, I thought that was some superb acting.
I think it was a good film about a man having a mental breakdown and like showing mental health and how like bad it can get and how it's treated. That was shoehorned into a comic book style and using comic book references to sell a movie.
Yeah,
and that was my honest take. And my wife laughed her head off at us because I lost my shit in the cinema when they start playing about with stuff. When the tease that the Joker was going to be Bruce's long lost brother, I honestly stood up and went, fuck off.
No.
Till the point where she had to pull us back down because I was about to walk out the cinema.
He's going to fight the movie screen.
You thought I was angry at the start when like the Goonies got beaten by Bill and fucking Ted.
Bill and Constantine.
but and having that element, like say, in it, it kind of took it away as well. It was like unnecessary because if you want to make an art house film, fair enough, and do it in a way where you're showing someone's mental health, it cheapened it in a way that you brought Gotham and Batman and like say element into it because it was the film's uncomfortable watch, and that's what it's meant to be. And a lot of people think, oh, it's a brilliantly acted film, which it is. But if you look at the two sides of it, it's not a comic book film because there's no heroism, there's no thing. It is literally watching someone's mental health deteriorate to the point of no return. But then, if you're doing it that way, you've cheapened it by putting... And I know I'm not saying that to slag off comic book films, but the two shouldn't really go together in a way. I think it cheapened it in a way and it used the easy advertisement plug to get it out that way. Because if the director wanted to make a film about the way he did, but that wasn't, to me, the Joker film. And I know they're going to do a sequel that's supposed to be a musical with Lady Gaga, which is absolutely batshit crazy, and I'll be all for it. But I just don't understand how you can go from showing a man's dick, because what I didn't get, which having numerous conversations with my wife, because she enjoyed it, but again, with like me, she said she would never watch it again. At the end, it was open-ended, so it was either the story was telling was all made up, so it was all bullshit, or like parts of it was in his head, parts of it wasn't in his head, which it kind of alluded to, or was it basically him using the trick to get out to be the Joker? So it's going to be a different tale, and like there's more than one Jokers and there's more than one multiverse, which I completely understand. But that's just my take on that movie. And again, I'm not trying to say I could do better or could make understand. I just think as a fan, I felt I was cheated a little bit. Yeah.
They marketed it so much on Joker. Really, it wasn't, was it? Let's be honest.
Like Paul was saying, it would have been better if it had just been a non-branded thing.
I think that would have had more of an impact. What people would have been,
because it was very. Because I really did like how it was like a bit of a 70s throwback. Because like the Gotham they chose was very like Taxi Driver style. That like old New York, like before like they cleaned up this town or whatever.
Yeah, New York was a shithole back in the day.
But a fun setting for movies, as we've seen many times. But yeah, like I just thought it was like, it was weird, and like I say, it was like it felt mean for the sake of mean a lot of the time, and also it goes against like the whole thing that's supposed to be the Joker's thing is that nobody knows who the hell he is.
Exactly.
Like, fair enough, it might have been a lie if we were just, because the frame it, don't there, as he's telling the story, like already locked up. Is that the thing at the end?
Yeah.
No, the ending is where he's on the car, isn't it? And it's like
no,
goons
no, because he's like, you wouldn't get it.
He's talking to the psychiatrist in the office. He's locked up.
Yes. It's
And
been
like,
such a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, and he's like, it's like, what are you laughing at? And he's like, you wouldn't get it, type of thing, which is a good last line to go out on. But
and then you see him walking out with a footprint, like say out the office, so you don't know if he's killed her or anything like that. But
see, that's like the end of oh gosh, is it Killing Joke? In a Killing Joke where him and Batman are just standing there laughing at each other. And then
because
it's just Batman's laugh at the end and no Joker laugh.
He finally tells a joke that even the Batman laughs at. Yeah.
But it's the last panel is just Batman laughing and not Joker.
Oh, so people think like he killed him or he's not there.
It wasn't, honestly, didn't even notice it until I listened to an interview with Grant Morrison where he pointed it out. He was like, the last panel is just Batman laughing and not the Joker, and he's saying, "You killed him. You finally did it. Finally fucked him up."
But before we start like moving on to like round up, because I know we've been talking for quite a while. I just want to
on this on mind.
True, but I just want to put my feminist badge on as well and say thank you for DC for giving us our first ever truly amazing female-led superhero movie in Wonder Woman, and not the 1984 shit, but the actual Wonder Woman movie that they gave us, and how like powerful and striking and just visually stunning. Like, and I know Gail Galot is absolutely a beautiful woman, and she carried that movie where it was ridiculous at times, but it felt realistic, and it gave us an actual true representation of female power or female strength that we haven't seen in comic book movies before that.
Yeah, I was writing for Comic Book Underground at the time, and I wrote an article on exactly the feeling I got when I came out of that movie, and I have never had this experience before. I never got it with Captain Marvel. I'll admit that. I never felt the way that I did. I have never felt as strong as a woman as I did when I came out of that movie. Like, I felt fucking invincible. And I went home and I wrote me review of the film, and then I just wrote how unreal it felt to finally see a woman who, and this is what really broke my heart on the second one, because they've kind of like stepped back a bit. This woman was independent, she was strong-minded, she was strong-willed, she like everything that you want to see in yourself, and they fucking took a back step on it on the second one. Like, they fucked it all off. All that empowerment that I felt was totally banished in the second one, but the first one it's unreal. I still cry my eyes out through the majority of the film because of how it makes us feel. And it's not, there's not sad parts in it, but it is the end, but it's pretty sad. But I loved that film. He's gone very quiet.
No, I just wanted to get awesome. Because it's one of them moments where it'd mean more to you, like it would come out stronger coming out from a female voice and showing the experience that we couldn't.
Too much.
No, we can't relate. We can't. Anything we said there would just cheapen the moment, so I didn't want to do that for you.
Oh, bless you.
You talk more, Sam. You haven't been talking enough. That's awesome though. Because like for me, like I really enjoyed it as well, and I don't normally like sort of like World War period sort of things. Even if it is comic booky, it's kind of like not my thing. But yeah, like start to finish, I was like all in on that. And I've definitely been a fan of Wonder Woman in the past from like comics and the cartoons and stuff. And as far as I saw, that was like, yep, the mascara done right. Like everything kind of hit the mark. That they tried.
Amazon's tick.
I haven't seen 84 though, so.
Oh my god, don't watch it.
I won't. I'm not one of those fans who like has to seek things out just because.
So you're not me, so.
That moment when she walks over the trenches and she just doesn't give a fuck. And she just that power walk through the middle of the trenches.
It inspires everybody else, which is what a hero should do.
Exactly. But then in the second one, she does everything she does because of a man.
Yeah.
It's honestly. I don't normally get my feminist head out a lot. I really don't. I can take things as they are, but that really fucked me off.
I mean, who's that for? You know, like at the end of the day, like, because the crappy men comic book fans aren't going to enjoy it either.
No.
So they're just betraying the female fans for no reason.
I'm actually not a fan of Wonder Woman in the comics. Never have been. Carolyn is. Carolyn's a huge Wonder Woman fan, but Diana just never got me for some reason.
Well, to be fair, DC fucked with her over big style in the 70s, where it was just basically wasn't Wonder Woman anymore. It was like Wonder Woman and doing everyday things and being like an office girl, being. So it changed the look. So if you ever go back and look in the history of Wonder Woman in the comics, the 70s and I think 60s and 70s was a very dark time. It was very much taken. Oh, women aren't special. Women should be doing these jobs and making Wonder Woman out to be one of them people. So, again, like I say, I think there was a documentary. It was on the History Channel not too long ago. I know Jake loves my History Channel stories. Like the history of comics and stuff, and they've done the Wonder Woman episode, and Linda Blair, not Linda Carter, sorry. Linda Blair would have been a different choice, but
that'd have been weird.
Linda Carter was talking about it and stuff like that, and when they go back and show the images, because the right what I think I might be wrong, because again I watched it quite a while ago. I'm sure the writer had two female parents.
No, it's William J. Morrison. He had two wives.
I had two wives.
Right.
He had two wives. Right. He's not a comic book writer. He's an inventor. He actually invented the first lie detector. And he had a wife and a mistress, and they all lived together. And they all had families together. And yeah, he had two wives.
Oh, is that why she's got the golden lasso, the golden lariat that makes you tell the truth? Because he invented the lie detector.
He invented the lie detector.
Yeah, but like I think I remember hearing that where she was a bit more of like a kind of like feminist icon, dominatrixy type, kind of probably like making fun at the time, and then obviously like the TV show was kind of silly, and they have tried
kind of silly. Amazing.
Just span off to turn into Wonder Woman, but
for a month straight, I couldn't get that song out of my head.
But like she's been amazing whenever she pops up in other TV shows and stuff.
Spoiler alert, she's in the second one.
Oh, right. But I think she's popped up in some of like the Flash, Arrow, Supergirl stuff as well.
Things.
Yeah.
Just before, again, sorry to jump from subject to subject, I wanted to ask as well, has there been any big surprises for you when you've watched a DC film that you thought, oh, this can't work, this is going to be awful, and you thought, I actually enjoy this?
Yeah, actually, I've got a good one. The Harley Quinn one, the Emancipation of Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, whatever they ended up calling it in the end. I thought that was great. I just thought it was a fun like fighting movie because there's lots of like fun fight scenes, usually to like fun songs, you know.
I really enjoyed it as well. Like, so yeah, I thought it was just a fun entertainment blast with Margot Robbie looking hot as well, so it didn't really do anything bad.
I didn't enjoy it at all. That Canary's one of my favourite characters, and it was just I don't like it. No, do you know what I liked everything about? I liked certain parts of it. I'm not going to lie, because I have watched it twice. And I did like certain parts of it, but overall, I wasn't thrilled by it. When Suicide Squad came out, that's Harley Quinn. That's how.
Second Suicide Squad.
The second one, James Gunn's. That's how I want to see Harley in the future. If we ever see Harley in the future,
honestly, like that scene where she comes out in like the dress and the army boots, is like amazing. Yeah.
What were you, Sammy?
Probably the new Batman.
Yeah, were you scared going in?
As much as I did, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It didn't help that I had my friend Amy sat next to us, keep going, I'm every 2 minutes. So now every time I think of it, that's all I can think of. But I think the new Batman really surprised us. I was thoroughly taken into with it. I didn't feel like I was sitting there for nearly 3 hours. I thought Paul Dano, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Terrifying in his own way.
Yes.
Mine was Shazam, Billy Batson's story.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
For a fun, just stupid, out there, like, say, storytelling and like twists and turns, and just like, I know it sounds really weird, like a family movie.
Yes.
It was just entertainment and a proper feel good, which movies and comic movies should be. And I am very much.
I've always had. To be honest, I've always had a soft spot for like Billy Batson, like Captain Marvel or Shazam, like depending on what time period you're looking at.
The real Captain Marvel.
He is the real Captain Marvel. Absolutely is. As a DC, as a Marvel fan, I can hold my hands up and say he is the real Captain Marvel.
There's an absolutely. I'm gonna like. I've sort of mentioned the animated. I know this isn't the animated verse like cast, but I've mentioned a couple of times in like Justice League Unlimited, the cartoon show is probably like the best DC thing. If you wanted broad strokes, you'll get everything. If you want to just learn DC, I'd say just like find that. But there's an amazing episode with Captain Marvel in, probably like the only one he's in, I think, where Lex sort of tricks him into being like the face of something for him. And it's kind of like, and Superman's like seeing this happen, being like, you can't trust Lex. But he doesn't know Billy's like a 12-year-old. so like he's like very sincere, being like, oh, like Lex is doing a good thing here, and Superman actually like fights him, beats the crap out of him, and like levels this new like housing development they're trying to build. And it's that thing where like Superman's like, crap, I didn't know he was a kid. And it's just like one of those things where it's like he's a weird character because he is a child masquerading as an adult, but you can get so much out of that. Like, if I don't know if they will do it. But I'd love to see something where like, that kind of thing happens and you're like, you know what? Sometimes children have the right idea on things. Like adults aren't always right. Like it's an interesting
premise. I think
superhero for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think with comic book adaptations, I would always love to see Kingdom Come, like seeing Superman go full bad guy for a little bit. I think that would be quite interesting to see. Was Kingdom Come or was that Justice? I can't remember.
Well, I think Kingdom Come is a bit Watchmen-y, isn't it? Where it's like all the superheroes have died and there's like a new crop of weird people. I don't know. Are you maybe thinking of like something along the more lines of Red Son?
No, Red Son. That was the Russian version. Kingdom Come, because it's like Superman. Because Superman tries to go against Murdoch, then he suddenly decides to police the world, and then Batman and all the rogues and stuff like try and fight off against him, and they realise that they're going the wrong way. But that would be interesting. And
there's one where they find like Batman's contingencies on everyone, isn't there? That would be an interesting movie if they could do it.
Definitely.
Where they find that he's got like plans if any of them go bad. Is that Tower of Babel? Maybe I can't remember now.
There's that many days.
Names I've not heard of. I'm like trying to like recall my brain. Like I can't keep up with it at all.
There's some fun stories they could still tell if they get their act together for sure.
I know it's not a movie. I would feel amiss if I didn't mention it, because I know we did a podcast review in the show. Like the Pacemaker just came out there and just totally blew John Cena as like I say a DC. Like,
who'd have thought John Cena in 2005 when the Batman was coming out? What was John Cena doing on TV? Was he still the Doctor of Thugonomics?
Yes.
See me.
Yeah.
That was the problem. You couldn't see him.
But yeah, like I say, I'm so looking forward to it because it's still been announced that they're doing season 2. I think James Gunn's working on the Ratcatcher version as well. So. I think that's a spin-off that like's meant to be mentioned as well. But like say, I know there's a lot of shit going on with DC, and like say, will we, or if we will get Flashpoint, what kind of Flashpoint will we get? I don't think we're going to see Ezra Miller in that version, but we'll never know.
I think they'll use Flashpoint to flash him out. Get it? Flashpoint is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, DC animated movies.
Mhm.
And if you want a decent Flash, fucking watch the animated film because it's absolutely just out of the fucking comic book. I swore far too much there. I'm very sorry. Absolutely.
Get you hyped up.
Sorry, Sammy's mum. I'm not telling her off to swear.
My mum had no problem with me swearing it was me dad.
Fucking Wally West.
My mum's just as bad as me.
We don't talk about Sam's father on the podcast.
Is Flashpoint the one with like reverse Flash, or is it anti-Flash?
It's reverse.
Where he manages to run so fast that he changes time.
Yeah, so he goes back and stops
his mother from being killed.
From killing his mother.
Yeah, so kind of stops.
Yeah, and it has one of the most brutal scenes that Diana ever did. And it's Jake, just please.
No, I think I've read it, because some stuff's coming back to me, and that's like the Thomas Wayne stuff, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I don't know if they'll be able to do in the movie. Mm-hmm. But then isn't Martha the Joker in that timeline as well?
Yeah, no, Martha's the Joker.
They mentioned Jeffrey D. Morgan playing Thomas Wayne. That was a rumor ages ago, was that he would come back and play Thomas Wayne. But
get George Clooney to do it. He's Thomas Wayne of the Schumacher verse.
Multiverse.
I wouldn't say no to that. But yeah, so I think that would be a good point to leave it on with what's coming next, just because I know we've talked quite a lot of shit tonight. So
and we could talk more shit. Honestly, we could make this into like another part sometime down the line, because there is so much you don't realize until you're digging into it how big the DC verse is when it comes to on screen, because you're always going to mention the comic books in it as well. So I feel like this is something we can visit later on when DC start to bring some stuff out.
I would be very yes, like you said, I'm very interested to see what the hell comes out of Flashpoint, because they've done it in the TV show as well, and it was pretty decent.
Yeah, they did do a good job.
So what are they going to do different? And obviously the wild card of Ezra Miller.
Wild card, that's a word. Wild card. Wow.
Still fighting his way around Hawaii, as far as I've heard.
Moving on. But yes, next week Jake is returning again.
Yay, Jake!
I believe we've got a Charlotte and a Grant, I believe, so we might have a mega episode next week. I'll have to double check, but we are going to talk about urban legends. So if you're a fan of the podcast, we've done a few interesting story type tales where we've done like ghost stories, and we've also done like a conspiracy theory one, which we did go down the rabbit hole and we were scared about the Men in Black coming to get us. Next week we are going to go like it's kind of like the start of the pre-Halloween term, so we're going to talk about like things that we've heard about, things that we know about, like say urban legends in movies, urban legends in day-to-day life. So like strap up, it's going to be an interesting one. It's probably going to get fucked up at times, so
it's going to be spooky story time for sure.
But yes.
Oh, sorry, I've just read our chat and Kev just says Jake's my new DC hero. Some awesome points on this guy. Guys.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Kev's kissing ass now, so it's fine.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm looking forward to next week. I'm going to do a little bit of reading. I'm going to do some research.
I'm sure it's just because Jake said he learned about sharks from Kev last week, so it's fine.
That was very informative.
I sounded so stupid the next day when I was talking to my mum. She was like, "How'd your podcast go?" And I was like, "I learned so much. I learned that sharks can't swim backwards. Did you know that sharks can't swim backwards?"
But yes, so that's I think I've just pointed out that episode 100 is coming up soon. So I think we're on 85 or 86. I can't remember now. It seems so many moons ago. But I got a memory. I got a memory in on my Facebook today that this time last year was the first appearance of Donna on the podcast as well.
Yes, so it was. I had the same memory come up on my phone this morning, and
history was made.
Yeah, it was Donna's first time on here.
Yes,
coming back soon.
Hopefully for the Hocus Pocus podcast, we're trying to drag her in. Yes, we are going to be reviewing Hocus Pocus at some time, guys. That's on the list.
I got you for this, Bette Midler.
Yes, I believe on Friday as well, we are hoping to do a group Twitch where we all going to try and play Fall Guys if we can arrange it. So if you want to see me losing me shit and probably try and kill Goodwill quite a few times, tune into that. I don't know.
I mean, if we can't get enough community people in it, we'll still be able to play it with just random matchmaking. So we'll have something going. The Twitch is going very well, so I'd like to thank all the viewers and stuff. But yeah, it's awesome. Twitch.tv/nerdyupnorth. We've got that good branding that Paul figured out, where the name's free everywhere, just as it's written.
We need to finish Resident Evil off as well. I need to know how that ends.
We do. I need to load that up and see if it deleted the last mission we did. I might need to redo it.
It ends with Sammy dying.
Ends with anime bullshit in Wesker, I think.
Yes. Like I say, thank you for joining us to chat. I know a lot of people have joined. There's been a few new people joining. Just to give a few teasers for what's coming up, just to get people excited. So, as I said, next week is Urban Legends. The week after, we are going back to top fives with B movies. So, expect some shit fantastic with that. We are hoping to review Hocus Pocus with the release of Hocus Pocus 2 coming out not too long after. Then we are moving into the spooky season with October, where we are going to do like a whole review of all the Freddy Nightmare on Elm Street movies, serial killers, hopefully talking about real life monsters. We are going to review the Trick or Treat movie. If you're not familiar, watch that. Is one of the best movies.
Watch it.
And
so good.
We've got a lot of things planned.
Okay.
Yes. So plug in everything. So just to try to keep you on and keep you enjoyed. And there's the doggies shouting there. So we might even have a doggy episode with all everyone's dogs in.
Podcast, yeah.
Dogcast. But yes, thank you guys, and
thank you.
Stay. I was going to say Sam's there, but same back time, same back channel.
Good night, everyone. Bye.